In the span of 10 minutes, the Union went from heading towards a 2-1 road victory to winding up on the wrong end of a 3-2 defeat on Saturday night. We'll discuss one of the crazier endings to a game you've ever seen on Union Insider, starting now.
Made it to Elliott. The shot, Bedoya with a goal, 1-0 Union.
Hey everyone, good evening and welcome to Union Insider, your go-to spot for all things Philadelphia Union. Alongside Shannon Williams and Sebastian Letou, I'm Marissa Pilla. Last weekend's match between the Union and Montreal had a little bit of everything. There were 5 total goals, a red card, and a VAR review on a VAR review. We've seen it all with this match. What word best describes the result on Saturday?
A big deception for me. I think it was supposed to be 3 points for the team, even if the first half was not maybe the best, but how they start the second half, like exactly how they should play the entire game, got 2 goals, was leading the game, and then the red card happened and kind of changed the thing. But even if, it was a red card, they were still in front, they could have kept the result. And in the money time, in the extra time, getting 2 goals for Montreal, who I think it was just about pure desire, who wanted it more, and that the fans, they kind of came in the game and kind of tried to, get this little extra energy from the fans and got it and got the 2 goals. But I think it's a big disappointment, and you saw all the frustration from the player by the VAR call, of course, but losing 3 points in Montreal where they should have it.
Disappointing for Seba, Shannon, for you?
It was poor. The defending for the last 2 goals was poor. I think everybody can see that, and they have to do a better job of that, especially on the road. Giving up a penalty in the first 2 minutes, there's just a lot of bad mistakes that won't lead to winning soccer. So they need to clean up some of this stuff. We know that coming home that they'll do a better job of it, but they do need to get better on the road and really start to come ready to play from the start of the game.
Disappointing, poor, adjectives you never really want to hear describe a team performance. Montreal scored 2 goals in the final 8 minutes of play. As you said, it looked like they just wanted it more. That first one came in the 90th minute, Chinozo 04. He was such a disruptor as soon as he entered this match.
It was. I feel it just, you saw like a 4 sub in one time from Losada, who tried just to put, more energy into the game, tried to get a little change. And 04 was one of them who really kind of wanted it more on the goal, like off the crossbar. He's the one who reacted the quickest, put his head and score the goal. And you see what it meant to him, because I think he needed this as a player to kind of get into his new team and have a good start. He come off the bench, most of the time for them. So he can now show to his coach he can maybe start as well. But yeah, you saw the energy was a bit different from him.
And then in the waning moments of stoppage time of the second half, it was Romel Kyoto. He scored the game winner for Montreal. What did you see break down in the Union's defense?
They had too many people in the back, and they had too many people that were looking for somebody else to do the job. They had more than enough numbers to clear balls and to deal with crosses. They even added an extra center back in Lowe coming in late in the game. They were supposed to be more shored up in front of their goal and being able to defend their goal, and unfortunately 2 crosses at the end of the game and 2 goals that had them on the wrong side of this game.
For a while, it looked like Union's defense could bend and not break and really hold off. Where did you think that missing piece was?
I feel just in a pressure. I feel as they drop a bit too much, especially being at 10 is usually what you do. Kind of as a team, but the pressure on the ball, like Shannon said, the 2 cross coming, there's not enough pressure on the person who has enough time to give a good, whip into the box. And, it was 2 good crosses, but I think if the pressure is a bit higher up the field, put, on the person who is going to give the cross, it doesn't give as good as a cross, and it's easier than for the defense to defend. So I feel we just dropped too much in the last 50 minutes of the game, and it was a bit easier for Montreal to get ball into the box.
Montreal entered this match with no wins and no goals to their name. So for the Union to lose this match 3-2, it was disappointing and really unexpected. How does a team use this kind of result into motivation for next week?
Just to get those details right, to really make sure that the little things that are losing them games, they figure out and they understand how to fix them in the next game. For them, it's going to be a home game, which is really important so that they can get back on track.
And for us, the thing is to, like we talk about it, but the Union is like the best team. Like Montreal is I don't think we'll make the playoffs this year, like just for the quality of play, but it just people will play with more desire when they play the Union because they know it's a team to beat. Especially when the Union is going to be away, you're going to see a team who's going to throw things out them who maybe they will never see with maybe 5 or 6 people in the box, but they need to kind of stay cool, stay calm, and win the game just by their soccer because they are a good team, but the mentality needs to be a bit higher, especially on those games when you have a team who really just want to push, just not because of their soccer skill, but just because of the energy they put into the duel, into the 1v1, and then they win the game.
When a target is on your back and teams want to beat you, they're going to play the best soccer they can against you. We saw that with Montreal and the Union. Mikael Uhre, he was a bright spot for the Union, 2 goals in a span of 14 minutes. Why was he so effective?
I mean, it was my pick from last week. I don't really remember.
Humble brag from Seba, yeah.
No, I feel like it was really his game on a big field. You saw Montreal like doing so many mistakes, and in the first half we didn't really counter very well. The first pass was not as good, but in the second half, especially on the second goal of Uhre, you see like with his speed, his great timing in his run, he took the space, Gazdag found him perfectly, and he scored the second goal. But it was really a good game for him to counter-attack, and he scored 2 goals, and it was good for his confidence.
Let's get into our first team report presented by Green Mountain Energy. After completing a stretch of 5 games in 15 days, the Union finally just have one opponent to prepare for this week, and that's Orlando City. Jim Curtin may have had a full week on the training fields, but he won't have a full squad available on Saturday. 3 homegrowns will be away with the US U20s and another 4 players missing due to senior international duty, including Daniel Gazdag and Jose Martinez. Smaller roster options than normal, but the Union aren't heading into this weekend with any excuses.
But every team's going through it. Like I said, some will be affected more than others, but it's a test of our depth. We'll have to put a team out on the field that I still think can get 3 points, and every other coach in the league is dealing with this as well.
We play at home, we want to win, we have to win, and I think we are still a great team even if we are missing some guys, so we have to show that, and yeah.
Not a lot of roster options for the Union this weekend, so given the personnel that is available, what makes the most sense lineup and formation-wise?
Obviously, the Union are down a bunch of players this weekend. Can they look to fill in the gaps with players that have come in as substitutes and might need to change the formation up a little bit just to suit those players? But I see them playing a similar system, maybe with 2 10s instead of 2 forwards as 2 number 9s, and maybe letting Michael just be the guy up top by himself. I think he's fully capable of that, and I think it might be a good spot for Torres to come underneath or be out wide, looking to really exploit the Orlando defense.
Seba, what formation changes do you expect?
Yeah, I think probably maybe 2-10, like Shannon said, it could be a possibility just because of how Torres is a player, and I feel like Uhre, especially scoring 2 goals and knowing the team of Orlando with their defense, Schlegel and Jensen, who are not the fastest, and you saw the last game against Charlotte at home, who kind of give an easy goal again with a run in a space. Uhre can really do this for the Union this weekend, and he can be like the guy who is going to be like in front and asking to make some run into the space.
The main reason why Uhre will have to take on that full offensive load is because Julian Carranza is unavailable this week. Not because of international duty, because he's serving that 1-game suspension from the red card he picked up against Montreal. Really a ripple effect throughout the team not having his presence there. Who do you expect to really step up besides Uhre?
I mean, Torres, I feel like we saw he's coming into the game like a few times. We saw him playing the Champions League. He's really like into the team right away. He scored, he did assist as well. So I think he's going to be really the guy who's going to kind of carry the offense, maybe coming low sometimes to get the ball from the defense, try to find Uhre and connect together. But I think he's the one who is probably going to step up in this game.
We saw the Union switch to a 3-back at the end of the game against Montreal. Does the personnel available this weekend play into that type of formation?
For me, I think that was more so a situational thing, trying to see out a game, especially they were up 2-1 against Montreal. I think they'll stick with their back 4. I think that's something that's worked, especially them being at home, wanting to be on the front foot, wanting to make sure to take the game to Orlando. I think they'll stick with the back 4 and go from there.
Jose Martinez is another player not available for the Union, and he always makes such an impact on this field. He has a lot of brute force, a lot of energy, great defensive work. Who slots into that role?
I think, he could be Flack, who can probably take as a number 6 if he just play with one. We can see like he did Montreal at the end of the game, putting 2 number 6 with Bedoya and Flack, playing together. But I think the player we'll see coming in the midfield is Perea, who play for Orlando. I think it's a big game for him as well. He wants to do well probably against his old team, and I think we are going to see him starting against Orlando this weekend.
Speaking of Orlando, that is the Union's opponent this weekend. They're a talented, well-coached team under Oscar Pareja, but right now they're 1-1-2. That's their worst record in 4 games to start a season under Pareja since 2019. What's your scouting assessment of Orlando right now?
For me, they're going through a similar situation that the Union are going through, with having to deal with Champions League and having a lot of games in a short amount of time. So they're really looking to get their footing and get their hold on the league games and really start their season in a better, more positive way than what they've started with in these first 4 games.
With the Union having a week to prepare for this match, the first time since week 1, what do you hope was the key emphasis during training?
Just figuring out these little mistakes that they're making sure that they're sound and making sure that they bring the same energy and the same defensive mentality that they had last year. We saw how far it took them and what they were able to do being sound defensively first.
And with that, we wrap up this week's First Team Report. We're stepping away for a minute, but when we come back, we'll dive into why home field advantage feels more important in MLS than other major sports. Plus, the keys to a victory for the Boys in Blue this weekend. But before we break, it's time for This Week in Union History presented by Premier Orthopedics. On March 19th of last year, the Union beat NYCFC 2-0 at Yankee Stadium. 2 first-half goals from Alejandro Bedoya and Daniel Gazdag sealed the deal. The win marked the first time in Union history the team had won at Yankee Stadium. Union Insider returns after this. We're back with Throwback Thursday presented by United Concordia. And we're heading back to September of last year when the Union dropped 5 goals on Orlando at Subaru Park. Mikel Ura had the best of the bunch, streaking down the left channel before toe poking it past the keeper. All in all, a good day for the Boys in Blue. Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Marissa, that's Seba, that's Shannon, and this is Union Insider. It's time for these two to hand over their keys to the game, presented by Subaru. Seba, your key to victory.
I think I'm going to go with bring up the tempo into this game, just because we saw in the last home game against Chicago, the team who come to Subaru Park, they just want to kind of like break the time, make foul, talk to the referee, take a slow, goal kick and everything. So I think the team need to stop being frustrated about this, stop to talking to the referee, be into the game and just play fast. They need to get a free kick, get a quick throw in, get the tempo into the game and make the other team chase and run, because it's the way that you bring the fan into the game, it's the way that people get into the game as well and you play as a team, and it's where they are at their best. But if they kind of get into a slow start or a slow rhythm into the game, you go into the hand into Orlando is going to sit back, try to go and counter-attack, and it's not really what the Union is all about. So I will say bring the tempo, make them run, and make the game very, very entertaining.
Not let Orlando get in their head a little bit, right?
Exactly.
All right, Shannon?
My key will be the fast start. We know that there's going to be wholesale changes with the amount of people that are away on international duty. Can the guys that are coming in really make a strong push to get more minutes or to be a starter? Somebody like Torres, somebody that we know is going to be in and out of the lineup when the Union are at full strength. Can he really push guys that are starters and really make sure that they are filling in the roles that they're supposed to, as well as pushing to be starters themselves?
We've seen him come in as a sub. It should be a little bit of a different look, him coming in as a starter. The Union are back home this weekend, which is a setting that suits them both in MLS and CONCACAF Champions League. This year, Philly is unbeaten in 3 matches at Subaru Park and has outscored visitors 9-1 during that stretch. Away from home, it's a little bit of a different story. The Union have conceded 5 of their 6 goals on the road. This isn't just a Union trend either. Every year we talk about how hard it is to win on the road. On average, over the last 5 years, teams that have made the playoffs average 5 road wins. Why is it so hard to win on the road in MLS?
I think it's just there's so much to deal with, whether it be weather, whether it be time changes, whether it be just the distance traveled. There's so many little factors that go into just getting ready and preparing for these games, and sometimes those things get thrown off by an away game. So they just need to do a better job on the road of making sure that they're ready to go and making sure that they are set up from the start to really have a strong showing.
Seb, but when you made the transition from playing in Europe to playing here in MLS, what was the biggest shock about the road schedule?
I mean, it's a lot about, especially the trip, from the East Coast to the West, or when I play from Seattle, to the East. I feel like as an Eastern team, it's a bit harder to go to play in the West just because the game are at 7:30 p.m., which is 10:30, even if you have 1 or 2 days to feel, the jet lag. But you feel tired, when you came in the locker room at halftime and you're like, oh my God, I kind of feel a bit tired. And it's not easy for an Eastern team, so you need to adjust. I feel it's a bit easier for the Western team to come here. But two, what I will say, it's the change of weather. You saw, when you play sometime in a cold weather like Philadelphia, but then you have to play in Miami and it's so hot and humid and you're like, oh my God, I'm not used to. It takes time to kind of adjust into the surface as well. When you play on a turf field like they play in Montreal or indoor, it's very different, but it definitely takes a lot, into your mental preparation and in your physique as well.
Listen, I'm tired getting off a plane and I'm just talking about the game. I'm not even playing it. I can't even imagine getting off of a 6-hour flight going to the West Coast, playing somewhere really hot like LA. Mentally, as you said, what goes into that preparation?
Just looking ahead and making sure that you're prepared for whatever the situation is going to be. Like Seba said, the Miami trips are tough. The Texas trips get even tougher, especially during those summer months. So there's just so much to deal with over the span of a season. And it's just making sure that you're prepared every day to go out and have your best showing.
Since the first time he donned Union colors, we've seen homegrown Jack McGlynn go from lean and lanky to strong and steady. Get to know him better in our Player Profile series. That and more when Union Insider returns. We're back with our Nugget of the Week presented by Chick-fil-A. The Union's 5-1 win over Orlando last year marked the 5th and final time the team scored 5 or more goals in a game in one season, setting a new team record.
This week, the Union announced a contract extension to Jacob Glesnes. The center back was extended through the 2025 season with an option for 2026. That means the reigning MLS Defender of the Year will continue to be a defensive leader for the Blue and Gold for years to come.
Welcome back, everyone. Jack McGlynn formally introduced himself as a Union player 2 years ago with a clean take in a penalty shootout during the playoffs. As you'll hear in our Player Profile series presented by Subaru, it's not just ice running through McGlynn's veins, it's the game of soccer itself.
I got involved in soccer because of my family. My family's a soccer family. My brother plays professionally in USL, and my dad played throughout his whole career, and he was a coach. So I got involved from it since I think I was 4 years old, and then ever since then I fell in love with the game. I think I realized when I could become a pro when I got called into my first national camp. I think that's when it became like a serious realization for me. I would say my family, my parents, my brother, they all sacrificed so much for me to be here today, so I couldn't have done it without them. The best piece of advice I ever received was hard work don't beat talent if talent don't work hard. I think my teammates would describe me as a player that always wants the ball, a player that's always trying to make things happen, a player that's creative, and a player that tries to make things happen for the team. The most memorable moment of my career so far would be my first MLS goal against Houston earlier this season. It was a free kick in a really good spot, and my teammates trusted me enough to go hit it, and I knew right when I hit it, it was in.
It's McGlynn's the shot. Goal! McGlynn!
Outside of soccer, I like playing basketball a lot. I always play with either Matt Real or Nate, and I always beat them, so it's fun. I relax by just playing video games, either with some of my teammates or my friends from back home, and then just kind of doing my own thing in my apartment. I like cleaning. It kind of keeps me going. One of my favorite things about Philadelphia, other than cheesesteaks, which was unbelievable when I first got here, is just the support the fans and the people of the city have for all the sports teams here.
McGlynn, Carranza back into the middle. It's a goal! It's Gonzaga! It's Philadelphia in the lead!
One more break to sneak in, and when we return, we'll pick our players to watch for this weekend's game against Orlando. Union Insider wraps up after this. Not sure if you've noticed, but Major League Soccer looks a little different this year. If you've caught any of the action on Apple TV, you know what you're in for: top coverage and analysis, all in crystal clear 1080p resolution. There's a million ways to watch. They're there for you on the screen, so sign up today to make sure you don't miss out on any of this weekend's action. Hey everyone, welcome back. It's time for our final segment here on Union Insider, which means it's time for all-state players to watch. Seba and Shannon selected players they think are going to have a significant impact on Saturday. And I just want to give them credit because last week they both picked players who had an impact. Daniel Gazdag, Mikel Ura, 2 goals, 2 assists. Well done, gentlemen. Try to follow it up again this week. Seba?
So my pick this week, like the right back, which I don't know who's going to be.
No, you got to give us a name.
Okay, I will go with Baizo again,
Okay.
even if he struggled at the end of the game last week, but I think he's going to get another chance. I think he played very well at home. The past game, offensively, what he brings is really, really good. He just needs to be a bit better defensively, kind of like really erase all of those little mistakes. He can be done sometimes. I know it's a big battle between him and Ariol, but I think Jim is going to give him another chance at this game to kind of like forget about the last game and go back into his own game, but I think he can really bring something onto his right side and deliver some good assists in this game against Orlando.
Baizo does bring such a great aspect into the attack. And Shannon?
For me, we talked about the Union getting off to a fast start. That player to watch is going to be Torres for me. I think we've seen what he can do coming off the bench, being that spark plug. Can he do that from the start of the game and really get the Union going in the first half?
We've seen his creativity and his strength on the ball from Torres, but what has impressed you the most about what he brings?
Just his desire to want to make something happen in a positive way. You sometimes see players come on and take chances that don't really come off or are silly chances to take. I think he takes risks in a good way.
It's always good to take risks. You never know when they're going to pay off. We're putting a bow on this week's Union Insider with that. The Union are back in action this Saturday night at home against Orlando City, and we'll be back here in studio next Thursday to talk all about it. For Seba and Shannon, I'm Marissa Pilla. Thanks so much for watching.